With any layer that you have or any composition, you can apply effects to them, and text is no different. And so here I just have a simple piece of text that slides in from the side. This uses a text animator of position. It starts off on the left-hand side of the screen, and then it comes in using the offset. So I'm just going to press U to fold this back up. And so we see it just come in from the edge. Now, a couple of ways to make your text look like a little bit more hand-drawn. One method could be using Roughen, and I'm inside the effects and presets. And this is one of those things that, do some searching for an effect that you want, and you're just like, I want to make my text look like water, or I want to make it look more hand-drawn, and you'll find a ton of resources online. Here, I'm going to type in roughen edges, and I can just start typing rough. And I can click and drag this effect directly onto my layer, or if it's already selected, I can double click. And you'll notice that immediately it gets those little jagged edges around the side. If I go to border, I can increase how much that is being affected. I can increase the scale as well. And if I want to increase the sharpness, so I want it to be even more rough, I can increase the edge sharpness. And so I can increase the border a little bit more here. And you can see it gets a little bit grainier as it goes in. So this is an easy way just to have a little bit more roughness on your shapes. You can also, there's a couple more in here, like if you wanted it to be spiky or rusty, so let's look at spiky, right? That gets way, it almost becomes a little cartoony. So you want to be careful with these. Just using them a little bit, and that can work as well. So here we go. Cool. Another one you could use is something like a blur. So you could go to blur, and you'll notice that there are a lot of different ones inside here. And they are pretty resource intensive, so you want to be aware of that. I'm going to try out using the Gaussian blur, and notice when I apply it, we can see it in our effects panel over here. And when I adjust the blurriness, notice it blurs out our shape. So here, if I want it to start out blurry, set a keyframe for 0. And what's nice is if you set a keyframe here and then you press U and U again, you'll be able to see that pop up in our layer down here. Jumping to that same timeline, and let's reverse that. So I want this to be a blurry of 0 here. So I'm going to add in a keyframe, come back to the beginning, and let's make this like 20. So it'll start off blurry, and then it'll get a little bit crisper as it comes in. So that's kind of nice. There are a ton of different effects. Once you get into it, it gets pretty wild. Another one that's kind of cool is turbulent displace. And this one will add in noise into your shape. And so here, effects. It might be easier to see this one actually on a solid object. So I'm going to delete this for a second, make a regular square here, and let's apply turbulent displace. So what this is doing is if I play this forward, notice it has an amount of turbulence on it already, and this stays static by default. You can increase the amount that it is being displaced and getting wiggly. You can increase the size. And my favorite thing with this is the evolution. Notice if I play this through and the evolution inside here, and if you want to turn, it's running a little bit slow. So if I turn down the resolution to 1/3 and run this through, it'll go a little bit faster. Notice what happens, right? If I run the evolution, it's going to constantly keep evolving. And so if you want to have the evolution keep moving, this is where expressions are like incredible. And so what I'll do is I'll come to the very beginning of the shape, set this to 0, and I will set a keyframe at the beginning, jump forward a little bit, and jump to 1. So it's going to do one complete cycle of evolution. So if I play this forward, oh, that's too fast. Press U to be able to see this keyframe. Here we go. Okay, that's still a little too fast for me, so I'm gonna go to 2 seconds. And that's fine. Let's zoom out on our timeline so we can have this go a little bit longer. And so now it does one full rotation and then it stops. If I want this to keep going, this is where I'll use an expression. And I'll hold down Alt or Option, click on the stopwatch, and type in loop out. And then inside of that, I'm going to use offset. And this is the one that continues through the numbers. So for example, right, it should stop at 1 here, but then if I keep going, we'll see it's increased to 2, increases to 4. So basically, it's going to keep going throughout the entire form. And if I reset this keyframe, this end keyframe, if I want to speed it up, I can go closer together. I'll get this like crazy wacky one. And if you stretch it out, it will move forward like this. You also have the option of changing the type of displacement. So if I go to turbulent, you'll see we also have horizontal. And so if you just want it to be displaced horizontally, this is another type. If I want vertical, same thing, or cross. So then, now that I have this effect set on my shape, and I'm going to go back to vertical. I think that one's kind of nice. Sorry, I mean horizontal. And I can right click and copy or Command C, hide the shape, go to good afternoon, and Command V or Control V, and that'll paste it right in. It's important that you do it at the beginning, because otherwise, if I scroll down and I look at these, if I Command Z to undo that, and I'm at 6 seconds and I Control V, notice that it pastes in those keyframes exactly at that spot. So I need to come back here, Control V, and it'll paste it in. And now when I come back, it has those same settings applied. So you can get something a little bit more fun as you're going. And again, you could always switch it back to turbulent. It was a little much. Blah. It was a lot of much. So you could always change the amount to just like slightly. And now we've gotten something a little bit more dreamy, right? So speed is going to affect how we're interpreting it.